Before this video gets underway, I wanted to clear up a few things, just kind of throw some apologies out there. Firstly, it's not raining today in Vancouver. Therefore, the leaf blowers, they're outside and they're doing their thing, so if you hear any buzzing in the background, that's out of my control. I apologize for that. Secondly, I'm going on a trip from Friday to Tuesday, so I'm not going to be able to watch the Vancouver Canucks playoff tomorrow against... Who do they have on their schedule? Let's look that up because I did not do that before the video. The Canucks are playing the Flyers tomorrow, and we're not going to be able to watch that. They're also playing the Predators on Tuesday, when I should be back. I'm not too sure. We might have to miss out on 2 post-game videos, worst case scenario, but I do have some plans in the weekend. I'm not going to be here, so in order to keep my streak of uploading daily alive, we're going to be uploading 1 video per day on Sunday and Monday, and then hopefully we'll proceed with the 3 video per day schedule afterwards. But in today's video, what I wanted to talk about was a pretty simple, very basic, bare-bones transaction that the Vancouver Canucks did today. GM Patrick Allvin announced that the Vancouver Canucks have placed Tanner Pearson on the LTIR. And at face value, this is a pretty low-level move. Tanner Pearson is not really the best player on the Vancouver Canucks, nor is he really the most expensive. He's making $3 million, or 3.25, excuse me, against the cap until 2024, and he hasn't played a game since November. It's been a very long time that Tanner Pearson has been out. Nevertheless, though, this entire time, from November up until yesterday, Tanner Pearson was not on the LTIR, despite his absence being pretty long-term. With this in mind, though, there are a few other names that have sort of popped up in the Vancouver Canucks world as potential guys that have gotten hurt, and this, of course, is unfortunate. You don't want to see this ever happen to players, but the unfortunate truth is that it does happen sometimes. Take a look at this tweet made by Irfan Ghaffar from yesterday. Sounds like Thatcher Demko suffered a setback and tweaked something in practice on Thursday. The Canucks won't know the full extent of his injury for a few days. You then had Cam Robinson, who quote tweeted this and said this: Thatcher Demko was originally scheduled to miss 4 to 6 weeks. That was 10 weeks ago. The tank has been driving itself this season. Of course, he's talking about the tandem of Martin and Delia. They have not been great this season, really not great. But Thatcher Demko was supposed to be able to come back sometime a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, that had not transpired in the slightest. You now have articles coming out, like this one from Daniel Wagner, talking about how the Canucks should shut Thatcher Demko down for this season. Demko is making $5 million against the Vancouver Canucks cap per season, and if you added that on to what is essentially Tanner Pearson's 3.25 AAV, that opens up a pretty good amount of cap space. Furthermore, you also have yourselves another name on the Vancouver Canucks that's making a lot of money too. Here's a tweet from Chris Faber, who transcribed a quote from Rick Tocchet earlier a few days ago. Tocchet told us that Curtis Lazar's lower body injury won't be long-term, but he could not say the same for OEL. Lazar, lower body. I don't think it's that serious. For OEL, I don't know. I haven't talked to the doctor, so I don't know how severe it is. This is because a few games ago, OEL had to be sidelined and he was removed from game action. And as a result, with this Tanner Pearson thing being activated today, it sort of kind of puts the dominoes in place as to what the Canucks could potentially do as well. Here is the comment thread in our Canucks talking about the Tanner Pearson LTIR placement. The first comment from Electric Nuck says, Pearson's AAV is 3.25, that's now on the LTIR. The Canucks should have around $7.6 million in cap space before the trade deadline. Drance points out that the Canucks did not put Ilya Mikheyev on LTIR until they needed the space. Is it possible that something else is happening today? Harvey Specter then goes out there and says there's more cap space if OEL goes on the LTIR too. We'll see what happens. He has not been placed on the LTIR yet, same for Demko, who seems to be injured again. Those two would add an additional $12 million in cap space for the deadline if they go on LTIR. And this is why I wanted to make this freaking video right here, because Patrick Allvin, you've got a chance to weaponize the cap space, baby. The Vancouver Canucks really have not done this a lot over the past few years. You could debate that the JT Miller trade from 2019 was an example of them using their cap space to their advantage and getting a player like Miller, who at the time was only a $5-point-something million guy. And it worked out pretty well in terms of their on-ice play because Miller had a 70-point year right after, and he had a 99-point season a few years after that. But there wasn't really a case recently of the Vancouver Canucks using whatever cap space they had available to them in a weaponizing move where you use the space to get on a bad contract or two, retain some salary on a rental, and get a draft pick in the process. This has not been any sort of an idea that Jim Benning even tried to accomplish when he was the manager of the Vancouver Canucks. And so now, with Tanner Pearson being placed on the LTIR after being out since November, you gotta think, okay, there's probably a reason they're deciding to do this now. There's no way they went months without realizing, oh, Tanner Pearson's not on the LTIR, we probably should put him there. There's no way they went this entire time without realizing that he had been available. So now, with OEL, Pearson, and potentially Demko all in a position where you could debate, they could find themselves on the LTIR. If the Vancouver Canucks find themselves in that sort of spot sometime next week, for example, then Patrick Allvin, you gotta go out there and take advantage. Right now, the Vancouver Canucks have Mikheyev, Ferland, Poolman, and Tanner Pearson on the LTIR. That's a whole bunch of money, and it's a lot of space that the Canucks are going to be able to use should they decide to be the mediator in a three-way trade or something like that. Here's a quote from Cody Severson. He does some good work for Canucks Army, and he was spitting off the dome on Twitter about the Canucks and what they could do. $7 million in cap space with the Pearson contract, 12.6 if Demko was shut down. Think of the hay you could make at the trade deadline. We are getting so close to my brainworm's idea of trading OEL to San Jose at 0% retained via middleman work on an Erik Karlsson trade to Edmonton. Now, yeah, I know. I said he was spittin'. This is spittin' right here. Okay, this is my nonsense brainworms. The Oilers want Karlsson. He is good. Barrie is good, but he's not Karlsson. San Jose is in the tank and wants to move big deals out for the reset. The Canucks would rather win by losing an OEL middleman deal than just lose by buying him out. Essentially, both the Sharks and the Canucks would win in this scenario for doing anything rather than lose by doing nothing over the next few years with both of these guys in their books. OEL and Erik Karlsson, that is. Below doesn't contain the laundry list of picks and prospects needed to facilitate this kind of transaction. And then there's a three-way trade in there. It's kind of weird, like, this crazy freaking deal. Crazy deals like this. This is what you're able to do with cap space, and it's how you're able to weaponize what is essentially a whole bunch of guys getting injured in a brief period of time. You don't even need to be an amazingly bad team to weaponize your LTIR space. We've seen really good teams in the playoffs use the LTIR to their advantage, like the Nikita Kucherov crap that we had seen a few years ago. With Kucherov on their LTIR, they were able to acquire some good players at the deadline and not activate Kucherov until the postseason, where the cap doesn't actually count. So this opens up a whole bunch of possibilities, and I think Patrick Allvin has a great opportunity here that we have not really seen any Canucks GM do in a long time. Emily Castonguay is the one who manages all the money for the Canucks. She does contract negotiations, etc., especially since she was an agent in the past. She also, and I'm saying this every single time we're bringing up Castongay's name up because it does articulate how competent she is at this stuff, she also is the person that got Antoine Roussel that crazy bad deal for Vancouver. Good deal for him, bad deal for the Canucks, and it was one that a lot of fans were very much displeased with a few years after it was signed. But yeah, Emily Castonguay was the one that signed that, so she pretty much knows what she's doing when it comes to the monetary side of the NHL, and I feel like this Tanner Pearson thing has her fingerprints all over it. So we'll see what the Canucks and Patrick Allvin are able to do over the next few days, whether or not there's an LTIR moving for OEL, Demko. Of course, you don't like seeing guys get injured as much as the Canucks have been, but for Thatcher Demko, his play this season has not been great, and just seeing the recovery timeline just stretch itself out, it's so unfortunate, and you'd rather see the guy just get some proper rest time, wouldn't you? I don't know, that's just me, but you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section as to whether or not the Canucks have an opportunity here. Who do you think they should go after? What teams do you think they could negotiate with to really get some assets back out of using this LTIR space? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.